Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be with you today as part of the Temkin International Talks program. Our session today is titled Reimagining Psychology in Morocco, Building the Next Generation of Psychology Professionals. As the world evolves, so does the field of psychology in Morocco and beyond. There is a growing need to rethink how psychology is taught, practiced, and integrated into society in ways that are innovative, inclusive, and impactful. It's my great pleasure to welcome our speaker today, Dr. Claudine Moise. She's a psychology architect, innovation and transformation leader, and liberation center practitioner, as well as the program chair of the Bachelor of Science in Psychology at Al Khawaja University. We are honored to have her with us today to share her vision and expertise. Dr. Moise, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm happy to be here with you guys. And I think your president, Dr. Abdalila, and your staff for always having been kind and hosting our students in our last trip. So we are very, very happy to be here and also to participate in the mission that you guys have, this great mission that you guys have for Morocco around education and forward motion in that capacity. So thank you so much for having us. All righty, so I'll go ahead and share. I can't see anyone, so if there are any comments as I'm going through, we want to play this real freestyle. So if people want to interrupt, it's not a very long presentation. I will at some point introduce some of my students who are here with me because they are my pride and joy and the representation of AUI. So I'm happy to have them, and there is no program without them. And so we'll go ahead and start. So I'll start with a bit of a land acknowledgement. And this is important to honor the space and place of where we are. And so here we go. All right. So before we begin, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the land we are gathered on here in Morocco, a land rich in history, culture, and resilience. We honor the Amazigh and indigenous roots of this land, and the generations who have shaped its knowledge systems and ways of healing, so historical practices of healings and how information was spread from the beginning until now. So as we speak about psychology today, I want us to also respect the ancestral wisdom, the information, the knowledge systems that were here before us, while holding mainstream Western science or collective science, recognizing that healing is always and has always existed here. So that is my land acknowledgement, just to honor where we are. And one more step before we transition into the introduction of the presentation, I want to take a moment to pause for a moment. So just everyone, if they can engage me in this activity, so place both feet on the ground. I'm looking at my students, placing both feet on the ground, allowing your shoulders to soften. Take a slow breath in, so one deep inhale, if you will, if you're comfortable in doing so. No need if not. So one slow breath in. Hold. And slow breath out. We'll do it one more time. One slow breath in, as in you're taking a long inhale of a nicely smelling Moroccan tea. And as you're releasing, one breath out. Pull your tea. And to center and orient ourselves into this space here today, this morning. Notice where you are this morning. Notice where you are this moment, and it may not be morning for some folk, depending where you're logging in from. So notice where you are in this moment, not where you came from, not what's next, just here in the present moment. because psychology begins with noticing. All right, so I'll allow a moment for us to transition into this talk. Thank you for allowing me to facilitate this little mini activity. So again, my name is Dr. Claudine Moise. I am the psychology chair of the psychology program here at Alakoane University. I'm here with my students as well. They'll wave in a bit. I'll wave them in a bit. So today we'll talk about psychology, we'll talk about identity, we talk about how psychology looks in Morocco now and what we hope to see in the future. And primarily what we're doing here at Alakoane University. And so that is the basis of our overall presentation. So here we've already done our land acknowledgement, our mindful minute. Why the mindful minute? Because it's really important for us to take pause, especially in our hustle and bustle, busy day. We're kind of like on autopilot. We don't really intentionally take the moment to take a break. And so we don't think about us breathing, we just breathe, and we don't think oftentimes we don't stop to have a moment of gratitude about the breath that we breathe in as well. So I find it very important, and it's something I do with my students as well. We'll talk about this framework that I put together. The HIA framework is just an acronym. And then we'll briefly talk about the numbers, not too much time there, some systems gaps, and then we'll dive into our program here, ABSAR Student Association, and then we will close and leave the floor open to questions and sharing anything that the students have to share as well. So the question is, what does psychology look like in Morocco today? Yeah. And what could it become? So right now we have roughly 50% of Moroccans who will experience some kind of mental health disorder in the span of their life. And we have about 200 psychologists for 37 million people. So that's less than one per 100,000 psychologists. So this is not just a need, this is a gap, a real structural and societal gap. And we understand, especially recently from the talk with the Minister of Health, that was basically acknowledging all of the wonderful works he'd be doing to really respond to this need. And that information is available to you in the the Morocco World News. So that's just to kind of give you a sense of where we are with psychology. So when we have this type of a gap, it leans heavily on what we have available to us. And what we do have available to us is psychiatry. And psychiatry is really important, right? So, but when that is the primary point of entry, we often see a system and a structure that really relies heavily on medication, and not necessarily prevention and maintenance for the long term. And so while we understand psychiatry is important, we understand the importance of psychopharmacology, there is a place for this. And also we understand that we need to have something a little bit more comprehensive, collaborative, effective, evidence-based. And we know there are great psychology professionals doing meaningful work in Morocco. Myself and the students have traveled and we've seen the works that they're doing. They're doing amazing work. And when we are, so you guys see that I've moved to system imbalance. That's the slide that I'm on now.
No, you're still on slide 3 here.
You're still, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. How about now?
Still. Maybe you can quit.
Quit and, okay, so let me quit and go back in. Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you.
How about now?
It's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect. You're in the reality.
Okay, so should I just leave it this way? I'll just leave it this way then.
Okay.
Maybe perfect. I'll have it to the side here.
No, it's too small for us.
It's too small. Yeah, I'll expand it. But...
This is perfect.
Okay. Okay, this is perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
So just so I can see. All right. So you can see now that I've moved to system imbalance. You can see that now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So with that said, as I mentioned, medication is important, psychopharmacology is important, but we want to strike a balance of medication as needed, as well as prevention work, maintenance work, rehabilitative care. All of that is important. And in the same breath, we also see a rise of some unstructured well-being approaches as well. Coaching, not all coaching is bad, right? So coaching is really important. We have really great people doing meaningful work, but we see that there are areas where there is unstructured coaching and some misinformation, some informal systems that fill formal gaps. And when we see the numbers, like what I shared before, we see that there is a great need and a small capacity to respond, right? And so right now, psychiatry is filling that gap, and we hope to see more of a rise in psychology professionals, mental health counselors, and trained coaches as well. So everybody can respond to some of the needs that we see here. And this is not unique to Morocco. We have, there's disproportional services and need around the globe. So we are grateful, and I'm happy to see that the Minister of Health and other folk who have been doing this work much longer than myself here are staying in the good fight. So now I'm on slide 8. Do you guys see parallel reality? I think if you don't see the slide, you'll let me know. So I'll continue. So
Yes.
you can see me. Okay, perfect. So we do see an oversaturation, as we were talking about earlier, where we have limited responses or limited capacity. There's kind of this oversaturation of coaching spaces. Plus the spread of misinformation. Not because people don't care, but because when there aren't formal systems, when we have formal systems that are limited, informal ones will naturally expand. And without that level of a structure, that the expansion, when not formally tailored, can pose some risks as well, right? So a healthy system is not dominated by just one approach, not just coaching, not just psychiatry, not just psychology, not just, indigenous healing approaches, but a collaborative, a balanced and clearly defined approach. So we know what you're doing, we understand what the outcomes can be, and we understand the evidence behind it. And so here's the framework that, I talk to my students about, and just kind of like in thinking about terms such as healing, transformation, liberation, Kaya came to mind. So psychology at its core is about helping people live fully, freely, and with dignity. And so that is the core of what I'd like to break down here. So H standing for heal. So we're restoring well-being across a variety of domains. So that's our families, in schools, in communities, across the community. And then the A, we awaken. So we want to spread awareness. We want to destigmatize and shift from some narratives that are not necessarily helpful or maladaptive to more helpful narratives, right? And later I'll talk about, when people hear psychology, they think someone must be crazy, or they need to be institutionalized, or we think of the term shuma, right? And then when why we have, I may mispronounce this, I'm still practicing these terms, but is it Chayer Yadel for the why? My students are like, yeah, that's right. So this is where we're talking about transformation. So we're creating some great change, some fulfilling, impactful change personally, in groups and systemically. And then A for Asa. So this is about liberation. So a psychology that we can reach, a psychology that is culturally grounded and is empowering, as we know that is what Tamkeen is focused on, empowerment. Yeah. And so with this destigmatization, I just talked about that. So when we hear psychology, oftentimes our mind goes into this space that is dark, negative, and not necessarily thinking about wellness and well-being. And that's where we would like to see some of that shift. And so mental health is not about dysfunction, it's about functioning, right? It's about who we are as humans, who we are as living beings, and how we think, relate, how we perform, and how we live. And when we think about psychology, we're thinking about expanding psychology. It's not just therapy, it's how we're building nations, it's how we're building ideas, it's how we're innovating. And so here are some areas that are emerging, and we want to continue supporting and seeing our students who are leading in these areas or trying to at least enter into these domains to create a meaningful space for them here in Morocco. So first we have sports psychology. We know Moroccans are very proud of their football team. So we're looking at performance, we're looking at resilience, we're looking at how to not just physically win, but to win mentally, right? And then we talk about, and we're really, really proud to be the champions of the most recent FIFA. And so in the next lane is industrial organizational psychology. We understand that leadership is really important. We understand that businesses are thriving here, and we can see an intersection between business and psychology. This is a really important lane that we want to nurture and watch as they thrive over time. So leadership includes wellness of not just the system, but the folk who create the systems. And it's also a way we see economies built, right? And then forensic psychology, we're looking at rehabilitation. So understanding behavior dysfunction and how to create a supportive environment that can also translate to transformation and action. And so these are some areas that we're looking at. So I will welcome our students and start to talk about, should you guys come behind me, or is there space? Okay. So here at Ala Cohen, we have, we're not just offering a program, we are hoping to build systems. We had one student just have to leave, they have class. So I'm so happy to have Abdullah with me here on my left, and we have Fadila here on my right. And we really are wanting to look at these three domains of integrated psychological training, which we're doing here as they're matriculating through our psychology program. Looking at Moroccan-centered frameworks, we'll introduce ABSI, which is a student club association that was founded in the US, and they have been really great in creating the first student circle here at AUI, really looking at decolonial mental health and a psychology that's for Moroccans by Moroccans, and also looking at research. And Fadila, Adam, Maria, and some other students as well are looking at expanding through research and the work that they're doing. So I'll give them a moment to speak about that. So we're not just trying to take a psychology from somewhere else and bring it here. We want to give it some meaning. And so, I don't think they can see you guys. Let me push this back. Here we go. Because we can't see you guys when we're looking at the PowerPoint. So let me move on over to this slide, and then so right before they speak, I'll just mention, so this is a new program. We did just graduate our first class last year in 2025, and they're doing really meaningful work. And this year we have our second class graduating, and we want to continue supporting them, continue seeing what it is that they're doing, being the change makers in the society, not just functioning in society as transactional consumers, but as transformational leaders. Yeah. And so here we are. ABSI. These are some of our officers of ABSI. So we have Fadila and Abdullah, and I'll let them introduce themselves as you guys also can see the slides. So, okay. Should I move or are you guys okay?
I'm good.
You're good. Okay. So,
Okay. Should I introduce myself?
yeah, you can introduce yourself.
So hello everyone, I'm Fadila Poubej. I'm a junior psychology student here at Home University, and I also serve as vice president of the ABSI chapter here at AUY under Dr. Claudine's support and guidance. And following the vision of ABSI of decolonial psychology, I was able to work on a research project this semester on translating a social media addiction scale, the Bergen social media addiction scale, to the Moroccan context. So our work consists of laboratory and testing participants at cognitive functions. And we hope to present all of this, inshallah, in May at the Barcelona APS, Association of Psychological Science.
You're going to Spain? You're going to Spain? Okay, we see you.
So that's the plan for now, and all of this work falls under the spirit and vision of ABSI of decolonial psychology, of making psychology accessible in Morocco through translating a scale that was originally accessible in English, mainly in French, to Moroccan Darija. And yeah, that's the work that I'm working on right now, and I also want to thank Dr. Claudine for her continuous support and guidance. And yeah, I hope to continue to work on different projects and to expand this chapter and, you know, see its most potential.
Awesome. That is amazing work that you're doing, Fadila. Thank you for sharing and being here with us. So Abdullah, we also have Abdullah, who has recently last year traveled to Daytona Beach, Florida, and had some experiences, and through that experience came here and launched this ABSI program with his peers as well. So I'll yield to Abdullah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Abdullah Cannon. I serve as the president or co-president of the ABSI Student Circle here in Morocco. And as Dr. Claudine had mentioned briefly, I had the privilege and honor of traveling to the States, traveling back to the States and being a part of the ABSI 56th annual convention, where I got to meet a lot of very high achieving people and very wonderful people, and establish a connection between us and the ABSI Student Circle there in Daytona Beach, as well as have the privilege of meeting the leaving president and new president of the association. I got to make a lot of wonderful connections and a lot of wonderful memories, as well as be a part of a poster session where I presented research that Dr. Claudine was a part of. Yes, currently we're working on really just setting our ground here in Morocco as a ABSI Student Circle. We're working on a bunch of different events right now, and we're really trying to establish ourselves here in Morocco. So echoing the same things that Dr. Claudine said, so we can really work on psychology for Moroccans by Moroccans. And yeah, I've had the privilege and honor of working with Dr. Claudine, as well as a lot of amazing people such as Fadila, and I can't wait for future endeavors and to keep working, keep doing the hard work. Yeah, and I would like to thank Dr. Claudine for all the opportunities, as well as the guidance and support.
Thank you guys. I thank you guys because I wouldn't be here if you guys were not here and doing the work that you guys are doing as well. And in that poster session, he was able to present physically a project on destigmatizing mental health in Morocco that was led by one of our graduating seniors, Hajar El Abbasi. So we're really grateful for that opportunity. And let me see if there's anything else I need you guys here for before I don't have you standing weirdly. Okay. Oh, so in our careers insight, so we designed this careers in psychology course that kind of has created a life of its own. And what we've been able to do with the support of Ala Cohen and our School of Social Sciences, Arts and Humanities, we've been able to explore all of the work that psychologists and psychology professionals have been doing in Morocco, one of which we've been able to visit Temkin, and I know there's not a psychologist there, but being able to see from an educational perspective, a social psychology perspective, a clinical psychology perspective. And so we've traveled across Casablanca, Rabat, Fez, Azrou, and seeing all of the great work that's being done here. And so we know there are Moroccans who are doing great work. We just know that they need support. And right now, there isn't really a recognizable status of psychology in Morocco, which oftentimes without recognition, we see that there will be unclear roles. There's a lack of clarity around what people are doing. There's inconsistency, not with those who are doing the great work, and there isn't a sense of identity, so there's limited trust. So if people don't know that their information is going to be safe, if they don't really understand what mental health is, they don't know what background, what licenses, what training and qualifications folk have, it's really difficult for them to trust, be consistent, and show up in a meaningful way. And so our students here, I think you guys both were able to go to Ibn Tufal, right, when we went to Rabat,
Yes.
and meet with that university as well. And we know that Dr. Khadija is doing a lot of work along with other psychologists in Morocco to bring status, a sense of awareness around psychologists and having qualified professionals doing the work. And so I don't know if there's anything else you guys wanted to weigh in on that piece there.
Yeah, for sure. I think that was really informative and really important as aspiring psychologists to, first of all, know that there is this network, there's a union of clinical psychologists in Morocco, after we graduate and get our degree, that's available to us, that's working currently on this legal framework of the psychologists and how we can improve that under the law, under the legal framework, so that our work is, first of all, better recognized, and that also because we know that there's, some difficulties or struggles with psychologists in contrast to like other positions such as the life coaches, and again, that work is honorable as well in its own ways. However, like you mentioned, we need a more comprehensive approach to healing mental health, and part of it, I feel like, is recognizing, standardizing what it means to be psychologist in Morocco, the same way that a doctor has a legal framework, the same way that a psychiatrist has a legal framework. So I think that work is very, very important, and I think just being able to connect with psychologists that are at different levels in their career was really important to bring on this awareness and to also see how they're actively doing work to reach the status of psychologists.
Yeah, and one thing we think about is, it's not just psychologists, it's not just psychiatrists, it's not just coaches. We're also looking at social work and what that would look like in this space, because we have people doing the work, but there's not really kind of like what that framework looks like. We know community psychology is really helpful as well. So there's just so many spaces, and at different levels, at a bachelor's level, at a master's level, PhD level, our students understand that they have to get graduate training before they do some of this more meaningful or clinical work. But, these are some of the areas that we are looking at. And let me see before I have you guys go ahead. Did you have to go, Fadila?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. So you can say your closing remarks and then I'll finish.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you so much for having me here, Dr. Claudine, and thank you for this talk, and I think this is really important work to be doing, and we hope that you guys have been able to gain some insight into our work here at Idaho University, and we hope to continue, inshallah, and only continue to prosper and expand our resources here at AUI.
Yeah. Thank you, Fadila. Good luck in the classes. Okay. I will keep Abdullah. So we have, in the tours that we have done across Morocco, we have way more of Morocco to see. But we visited some places in Casablanca. You remember some of those places? So Uh-huh.
one of the psychology hospitals there.
Mhm.
We got a tour around the entire facility. We were told about the history as well as the design of the building, what their working hours look like. We got to tour the art room as well as the exercise room, as well as get insight on certain protocols that they have installed, such as the kitchen, how it's designed to remove any harm that could be done to people there.
And some other places like Centre Repere,
Yes, yes.
in Fez. We visited Centre Gandir. We've Rabat, Tamkeen,
we got to
Mind
really-
Lab. This semester we visited
this
Mind
semester. I
Lab.
wasn't there this semester.
Yeah. So that we were able to incorporate school psychologists and AFAB, working with like elderly folk. So lots and lots of areas of
Absolutely.
psychology and mental health. Yeah.
And to echo what Fadila was saying earlier, it was really eye-opening for us psychology students, because as some of you may know, psychology is obviously, as the professor has been talking about, it's a very developing thing here in Morocco, and so students haven't really had the opportunity before this class to really be able to see with our own eyes what exactly working here in Morocco as a psychology professional looks like, and to get insight and to have those connections was really very valuable and very eye-opening for students. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you. And so that is just kind of like word on the street with our students. And so with moving forward, we want to just recognize the profession. We want to recognize all of the meaningful work and the qualifications, the framework, the healing methods that are being used here. We want to just there should be some level of recognition. We want to strengthen the training pathway. So, making sure that our students are getting up-to-date training, up-to-date research, because they are going to be the future of Morocco. And so making sure that they have quality training so they can translate that into society. Providing culturally grounded psychology and exposing them to not just Western psychology, but a variety of different, African psychology, Islamic psychology. There's so many different perspectives. And so we want them to know that there are so many ways that we can approach mental health in ways that are meaningful for the communities that we are serving. And then we want to build across systems collaboratively. It's not just, this is my space, this is my area, this is my turf. We want to partner with folk. And the more that we come together, the greater the work we can do together, right? So this is not an independent work. It requires a whole community. And so to end, the greatest success we have is right here, right? So the future of Morocco. So Abdullah, Fadila, we had Maria here with us earlier, Adam, Simo, a couple of our other students who are doing really great work here, sharing with their peers what psychology is all about, and also kind of taking this really immersive and culturally grounded approach to what psychology could look like here in Morocco. So with humility comes growth, and we don't stop learning. And I'm learning every day from my students. They teach me so much, and I'm so grateful to have them. And I learn ways for me to advocate on their behalf, and they learn ways to advocate for themselves and for those who do not have voices. And we're striving for something greater, a better Africa, a better Morocco. And right now we see that our students and this institution is a leader in this area. So we want to build and we want to create great pathways where there were limitations before. So we honor all of those folk who have done meaningful work before us. And we trust that this is just the beginning, an introduction to the work that we're doing here. But I kid you not, I believe it. I know that our students are going to make some great changes here. There'll be a day where people are not, ashamed to say that they're suffering, ashamed to go in and speak to someone, ashamed to talk about the intersection of like personalities and personnel hiring, recruitment, all of those things, and how psychology impacts that. Looking at ways for us to support the pride and joy of Morocco, our sports teams, our football, basketball, futsal, women's futsal team. We have a really great sports programs here at AUI under the leadership of Adel Kaman. And so we really just want to put our leaders, our student leaders here on the map. And with that, I will yield, and I thank you guys for having me and having my students. And so we'll yield the floor to everyone else.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Moise, for this insightful and interesting presentation. And thank you to your students too. We will now move maybe to the Q&A session. Okay. So please feel free to share your questions, reflection, or anything you want to share with Dr. Claudine Moise. I see that there is already some question.
If I stop sharing, will I be able to see the audience?
Yes.
Okay, because I can't see anyone so far.
Yes, sure.
Right now, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Oh, here's participants. Okay. I can see the list, but I can't see anyone's face.
One is sharing his camera, so. Can you see the questions?
Oh, let's see. Oh, okay. Okay. What are the key skills that the next generation of psychology professionals should develop to remain relevant globally? I think, firstly, humility and cultural grounding. And so when I say humility, so cultural humility, and a sense of understanding that the problems that exist in some parts of the world may not exist in other parts of the world. So having a sense of understanding and flexibility, so that cultural sensitivity, that cultural responsivity, to be able to know what we know and know what we don't know. I think there are some skills around, depending on what the lane is that you are interested in for clinical. So being sure that you're having some evidence-based backgrounds. You can navigate between both the Western world, you can navigate in kind of traditional healing practices. If it's in industrial organizational lane, what does it mean to hire effectively? What does it mean to have interview and find people whose personalities and skills match the job, and how important that is, the interview process and the hiring process and the functioning and overall progress of the company. And if it's so forensic or rehabilitative psychology, what are the up-to-date evidence and tools used to help reduce recidivism, to ensure that we can reintegrate, not just punish, but rehabilitate and reintegrate people meaningfully into society. And so I would say those are the skills. So humility, cultural responsiveness, cultural sensitivity, competency. And competency means knowing, a dear friend of mine says all the time, competency, and it is also the definition. Competency is being able to know what you know, and also being able to know what you don't know, and not having shame around not knowing and finding that out, right? So Ismail, I hope that answers your question. I don't know if you want to weigh in at all.
I would say that around the same thing that you you said mostly finding humility and gratitude in the people that support you, as well as finding the patience and resolve to continue to do the good work, regardless of if you see the rewards right away or if it takes a little bit of time.
Yeah. Thank you, Abdullah. So I have a question from Zainab. So what strategies can be used to make mental health services more accessible in underserved communities in Morocco? That's a really great question. And it's a question that I love because I am pro telemental health. And so when folk are not physically capable to access the care that they need, we should be able to provide them with at least some kind of application or service to where they can maybe log in. And that would mean we understand that there are impediments to that. It could be financial impediments, but I think if there is a need as far as finances go, maybe working with the NGOs to provide them phones or tablets or whatever have you so that they can access even if they can't physically make it. And then I think also potentially doing more mobile services, going out to those areas, doing talks, us bringing the services to them, having awareness pop-ups. I know that's something some of the students have been thinking about, talking about how to bring the information to the community in a meaningful way. So we would really need the support and the sponsorships of our institutions to help us do that, our NGOs working together. That's part of what we were saying earlier, of collaborating so that we can pool our resources, pool our tools so that we can access folk in remote areas. So I would say that is one or two of the ways that we can do that. So telemental health, as well as, mobilizing, going to those places and bringing them the resources that they need. I hope that answers your question. Okay. And then Gita, I have, how can psychology in Morocco be reimagined to better reflect local cultural values and societal needs? Yeah, and seeing all the suffering, seeing the numbers around mental health concerns versus the capacity and the numbers of folk who are available and trained and qualified to do the work. I think it's helpful for us to maybe even train trainers. There are lay people who are interfacing with populations before qualified folk can step in. So that may be teachers, it may be, our imams or our spiritual leaders. And so if we can provide some skills and awareness and some tools that they can use, I think those are ways to kind of like meet people where they are before saying like, okay, let's wait for us to have thousands of psychologists. How can we provide those who are interfacing with some tools in the interim and providing some supervision? And then I think supervision, even with folk students who are graduating from universities, supervision is such an important thing. So international supervision, local supervision. I know that there are agencies, one of which Center Repare, that's led by Dr. Belghedi in Casablanca. She does a lot of training, a lot of supervision, and supervision is just something that is oftentimes not considered, especially after people have graduated. They need to stay in touch. We recently had a guest, Dr. Lubna, who's working out of the Rabat University, and she's doing some meaningful work around aphasia and reparative work with people who suffered from stroke and adapting measures, seeing folk in rural areas as well. And the way that it's being reimagined, some of these services that have not historically been provided, but they are provided in more industrialized places or first world societies, she's able, and other folk like her are able to provide these resources, adapt, in an evidence-based way to bring those sort of services here. So language matters a lot, and utilizing the language of the persons or participants that you're working with, as well as not just bringing, I was speaking earlier about not just importing psychology, because we do know oftentimes Western psychology is not necessarily incorporating or integrating spirituality, cultural values, the family system. It can be a very individualistic approach, and we understand we're in a very collectivistic society. And so understanding the importance of the mother and the father, and the roles the mother and the father plays, and sisters and grandparents, and in the collective healing process, and they're wanting to participate and be present in what that looks like, and also being ready to have the difficult conversations of boundaries, and people feeling comfortable, whether if the main person we're working with feels comfortable in having someone else there, we can create space for that presence, and also create space for what is uniquely needed for that individual as well. And so it's a big question, but there are a variety of ways that we can continue to respond to the unique needs within the capacities and the frameworks that we have here. And then I have another question here. What advice would you give to students who want to pursue a career in psychology but feel uncertain about opportunities in Morocco? Oh, I think that is kind of the concern that a lot of our psychology students had. And I think one thing with this this professional development and careers in psychology course that we've been able to mobilize, and in the same way we have folk who are in rural areas, we've been able to mobilize and go out. It's one thing to have guest speakers virtually, but having the students go in and see what people are doing so that they can be like, oh, this could be me. I'm not just going to get this training, this education, and then I have to go outside of Morocco to get more supervision or get more education. I can do the work here, and I can see how other Moroccans are doing the work here. And so I think bringing them around into the community, immersing them into the community, and seeing and being open to having them visit, because it's one thing to learn theory, and it's another thing to apply it and see it in application. And so I'm so grateful to the university and to our school here for supporting this initiative and this program that allows students to do that. And I think for students who are not at AUI, we do welcome you here, but we also recommend maybe more, and I know there's psychologists who are doing this work where they're doing awareness pop-ups. I think more of the collaboration, so that students can see what that looks like. If you're working with children, if you're working with schools, if you're working with in prisons, kind of like sharing that information and making it accessible to the population, so students are not, when they look online, they don't know where to go. So making that information available online, even sharing those resources here with Temkeen, and they're posting what those opportunities look like, maybe pathways, contacts, networks. I do know the E&E, the employability and entrepreneurship office here at AUI is doing a lot of that work, and across schools there are similar works in the same vein. And so I think I challenge our community partners as well, and I welcome them to collaborate with us, collaborate with each other, because as we're going on these trips, we have found that some agencies are like, they have some needs, and we're like, oh, we went to visit this place. Have you considered this agency? And then put them in contact. And so the more we speak, the more we share what we're doing, the more we can build and we can collaborate and make a meaningful change. And so, as I was mentioning earlier, we don't want to just be transactional. We want to be transformational, and we want to really honor this collectivistic cultural system, and pool our resources together to ensure that no one's left behind and we can meet as much of the need as possible. Anything else you have after that?
Well, I would say just if I had to give advice to a student, from student to student, I would say it's really easy to listen to the negativity or the doubt at times because at the end of the day, it's understandable because psychology is being developed. However, like the professor said, it's less about transactional and more transformational. It will take time, and opportunities will come up over time because psychology in Morocco is a lot more developed than it was just 2 years ago. So over time, you'll reap the benefits of your hard work, but it will take time and just I would say humility and try not to listen to too much of the doubt or the concerns that you have. Obviously, bring the concerns up, but put the work in before giving up. So,
Yeah. And there's a lot of lanes that are not established or well established, like sports psychology, forensic. I know there are folk doing some meaningful work in Casablanca at the universities. And we have a couple of folk who have some experience in forensic psych here in our campus as well. And we want to continue to create awareness around these lanes. And because students have not seen these types of psychology, they only know about the clinical psychology. We've been really trying to build their confidence and their entrepreneurial capacities for them to say, hey, if this is something you're interested in, you have to create this internship. You need to reach out to people and say, hey, I want to do this and this. You have this resource. Here's how we can do things together. And I'll 100% back that up, because when we are emerging and we're creating, we need to fill gaps, and that can be really scary. And so finding mentors, finding people who are doing that work and partnering with them to make this come alive is really, really important in all those different lanes.
And I would like to add one more thing. Just as you're at a disadvantage because there are less opportunities, you're also at an advantage because there's an opportunity to make a name for yourself and really explore a specific field.
Yeah. And of course, with the re-emergence of AI, because we know AI has been around, I think that there's some really cool work that we can do even across schools. And I know recently we just had one of our students in the School of Engineering just do a presentation on the intersection of technology and well-being, and how working on this app to get information out there. So this is Mr. Adnan, who just recently graduated, and his supervisors in the School of Engineering. We partnered together and worked on this project, and he did some really great work. I'm happy to have put him in contact with Tankeen as well, because I know you guys are really looking at a lot of work with AI and education and how that can be, what that can look like. And we have a student who graduated from the School of Engineering, and they're looking to pursue a master's or PhD in psychology, and how they can kind of merge those worlds. And another thing that we've been sharing with our students is that just because you start in psychology doesn't mean you have to end in psychology. Psychology can intersect across fields, across domains, and it is really skillful and useful to understand how to relate to others, because when we see dysfunction, we often start to see that dysfunction in how we interact with others, because we won't know if we're just interacting with ourselves. So the difference between intrapersonal relationships, so your relationship with yourself, versus interpersonal relationships, your relationship with others. And so I think that's really important in kind of looking at how it is that how we look at psychology. So you might start with psychology, but you might want to do business. So how do I close a deal? How do I know that I'm on the right track? How do I interact in social settings, or if I'm going into like IS international relations, how do I engage with different leaders of different countries in a meaningful way and honor their culture and learn their culture and kind of navigate power dynamics, legal differences, things like that. How do we think about the psychology of marketing? So it's such a vast area, and we don't want anyone to feel limited in one domain. So.
Thank you very much, Dr. Wiz. I think this is all the questions. Thank you for sharing your inspiring insight and vision with us, and thank you to everyone for your participation and engagement. Thank you to both of your students. We hope this session has encouraged you to think the future of psychology and inspired new ideas for building the next generation of professionals in Morocco and beyond. And we look forward to seeing you in the upcoming session of the Tumkin International Talks. Thank you to all, and have a wonderful day.
Same to you. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye
you.
now.
Bye. Bye-bye.